Welcome to Candidate Spotlight, a production of Arlington Independent Media. My name's Ted Billich. I'll be your host today. And with me is James Lander, who aspires to the Democratic nomination for a board seat on the Arlington County Board. James, welcome.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate being here.
James, you've been on the school board now for 5 years. And I'm sure that that's been an issue out on the campaign trail, your experience as a school board member and how that would translate into the county board seat. If you would, contrast for me the status of the county board and the status of the school board and how it will be different being a board member for the county board.
Oh, well, I appreciate the question, Ted, and the opportunity to be with you today. The school board has been rewarding. I call it a labor of love because it's full-time hours and part-time pay. And we have been, as a community, facing a challenge of growth. And that's a good thing because we have a great public school system here in Arlington. The last 7 years has seen an average growth of 1,000 children a year, which is unprecedented at that rate. And so it has required, in my role as a school board member and as chairman this year, a very deliberate collaboration with the county board. And so in my role last year as vice chair, I was able to sort of get some things prepared for this year as chairman. And one of the big accomplishments we were able to accomplish both with Chairman Jay Fassett, because they transitioned on the calendar year, and Mary Hines, who is the chairman now, my chairmanship overlapped them. And so one of the things we were able to accomplish is we redesigned the actual budget process. And so I wanted to eliminate the arguments over revenue. We all share in the big pot. As residents, you write one check to the county and you expect your leadership to work together. And that was my goal. And we were able to do that this year. And as part of establishing budget principles, we agreed that the school system needed to be fully funded. And in doing so, I was able to get a budget of $557 million passed. We were able to give the teachers a step increase this year, something that they deserve with all the long hours they put in educating our young students. And then we were also able to identify a bunch of efficiencies at different places where we could actually differentiate instruction. We could find efficiencies in the process of operating a school system. And we were able to lower the cost per pupil, $500 per child, which is absolutely astounding. And I think it goes to the point of how important the relationship between the schools and the county is. As a school board member, I have put together a budget, a very successful one, like I said, this year. And I'm very proud of the relationship now we have, the working relationship with the county board. And hopefully as a county board member, having that intimate knowledge of not just working with other elected officials, but working directly with the county manager and the superintendent so that we continue to make progress forward. Because at this rate of growth, we're not able to cut our way forward. We're going to have to make some investments and be more efficient.
James, you've been a long time resident of Arlington, and there was a time 15 years ago when the expectation was that we were going to be shuttering schools and that school growth was going to be negative. What changed that dynamic? And what lessons do we learn generally for county dynamics in those shifts?
Well, we are evolving as a community, as a country, as a county. And 15 years ago, we were in the midst of a housing boom. A lot of folks, we used to call it in the school system the cliff in middle school. Folks would move to Arlington for elementary school. We would see folks get their students grow, and as they students got bigger, the house got smaller, they needed more room, so they would move out to suburban counties. Now, because of the shift in the economy, both locally and at the federal government level, Arlington is evolving, and families are no longer moving out They realize the value of being close to the city, having access to wonderful services in the walkable communities and the great public school system. And so now they've decided to hunker down here, and we're glad to have them. Continue to be successful in educating our children, and that will be, as we move forward, one of the components that helps us diversify our economic base. One of the things that I'm focused on as a county board, potential county board member. As you know, with BRAC and sequestration, we have been hemorrhaging jobs and declining commercial tax revenue. And this growth of the county now unfairly will be shouldered by individual taxpayers if we do not find out what is the next step after government dollars.
Economic development is an important part of the picture here. What specific economic development initiatives would you support as a county board member that differ from what's already being talked about?
That's a great question, and one of the things that I've been talking about on the campaign trail are a few specifics. The first one is we have to transition from being overly reliant on government dollars. And so I propose investing in small business. Small business is an opportunity for us not just to diversify our economic base, but to create jobs and to attract millennials and even invest in our seniors in a different way than we thought about it. In Crystal City, because of BRAC and sequestration, we have 8 vacant buildings, and we have space now. And with our growing school system, we can mix use some of that space. So one of the things that I would like to do is draw in small business by using our AAA bond rating and our sound fiscal policies to offer capital to small business, drawing them in, and then moving our workforce into Crystal City, starting maybe potentially with the Arlington Mill program, which is a program for adult learners. We can move them into Crystal City and offer them an opportunity for paid internships and job training with our hospitality industry, because we have 10,000 hotel rooms in Crystal City. And I know in my role as a board member that we've had conversation with Northern Virginia Community College, and as a county board member, I would pave the way for Northern Virginia Community College to have a campus in Crystal City, filling up the vacant space. And now businesses which are drawn to Arlington because of access to capital will be enticed to stay in Arlington because now they have access to an educated workforce. And for a small business owner, if you have access to capital and access to an educated workforce, this is something that allows you to create jobs and build the economy here in Arlington for us as a community.
When we talk about small business attraction and small business growth, I think it's important to reflect on Arlington economic development and what they already offer. The small business development programs of Arlington Economic Development are focused on the Biz Launch program, run very effectively by Tara Palacios. A single full-time employee and a single consultant run the Biz Launch program. Does that need to be modified in some way?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the opportunities this presents us as a community excite me because of the fact that in my role during the day, in my full-time job, I used to run a program for veterans and military families for Goodwill Industries International. And that was a workforce development program. And the advantage that the exposure that they gave me is to places like Seattle and Denver and Austin. And the model that I favor is one where we invest in small business and do something similar to what Austin did. For every 100 businesses that Austin, Texas invested in, only about maybe 15 to 18 of them turned a profit, but they all turned solid profits. It was one company which tripled their commercial tax base, which is what we can do in Arlington. And that company is Dell Computers. And it was not just Dell Computers, but all the other subsidiary companies that were offshoots of Dell Computers. And the good thing in Arlington is we actually have more natural resources than Austin did before they started. That is access to capital, an educated workforce, and office space. And we have infrastructure, great schools and transportation that we need to continue to invest in that allow us to propel ourselves forward. It's not just about putting a workforce in Arlington, bringing a workforce into Crystal City and drawing small businesses into Arlington. We also have to solve the problem of how we get people around. So the other specific proposal, which is a part of economic development, is transportation. And so I have proposed a circular bus line that runs continuously from Columbia Pike, Crystal City, Shirlington, and even Bailey's Crossroad, because we have to repair our relationships with our neighboring jurisdictions with regard to transportation. And that circular would run in South Arlington. And for our neighbors in North Arlington, I have proposed a circular that would run from Lee Highway over to Virginia Square and Boston Common. And that circular would run in North Arlington, connecting our education academic institutions like Marymount and George Mason. And this leads into the affordable housing investment projects that I'm thinking about moving forward on.
James, what's going to win this race? What's going to win the race on June 9th? How do you find yourself in a position on June 10th of celebrating victory?
Very good question. I think it has to, my message has to continue to be articulated clearly to folks, helping them and Arlingtonians understand that this economic change in our economy is an opportunity for us to move forward. But it's one that if we don't take advantage of, unfairly will be shouldered by individual taxpayers. We must find an answer to our commercial vacancy rate and our declining commercial tax base. That is absolutely the foundation that underpins all the other progressive values we want to invest in: affordable housing, great schools, maintaining our parks and open green spaces. These are things that we believe in, and no and cutting won't get us forward. We have to make investments. So on June 10th, I look forward to being victorious, because folks will have an opportunity to ask themselves the most important question: where do we go after the federal government leaves? That is the most fundamental question you should ask yourself, and I'm the candidate talking about it, and I have specific ideas for it.
One of the things that's happened over the last 11 months is some change on the county board. You and I are used to somewhat one-party government in Arlington. That's no longer the case. To the extent that the election of John Weistat signals some desire for change, and I put that to you, whether that does, but if it does, how would you say that you present change to the voters relative to Mr. Tejada and Ms. Hines, who are retiring from the board and freeing these seats up?
I think the election, actually the multiple elections we had last year where Mr. Weistat was able to win, the biggest thing we should have learned, the takeaway I got from that, was that we can do better. We can do better. Democratic leadership in this county has led us to a AAA bond rating, has led us to walkable communities, investment in infrastructure, has put us in a position where Arlington is so desirable. That's a good thing. But we can do better. And we can do better because what I've heard from residents is simply this. I need you to be responsive. I need you to be aware. And I need you to remember that there are operational issues and things happening in different communities that we need to be aware of. And so my experience specifically with the schools and working with communities and neighborhoods all over Arlington, I understand that the folks in Old Dominion have a concern about a salt dome that needs to be addressed, that the folks over by Ashland Elementary School are concerned about the bridge that connects the neighborhood to the school. And for far too long, we continue to not provide the proper audience for the Reeves-Land Learning Center. This is something that goes to our fundamental belief as progressives, and that is how we can teach about outdoor learning in our schools, which is something that I've championed with the Reeves Land Learning Project. And now as a county board member, I want to give them an audience and be responsive to them so that they understand. There are other issues as potholes and sidewalks that we can't overlook. On Lee Highway, the streetscape should be enhanced so that the bus stops actually have cover and you're not standing there in the sun with unmarked bus stops where it's just a pole. These type of issues are what makes Arlington unique. We are a national suburban community, but we have a local feel to it. Most of us are only 2 or 3 degrees separation from knowing one another, and it is that type of relationship politics that will help us get elected. But as a county board member, that relationship is what will help keep us connected to the community. And as a school board member, I have been very responsive to community concerns, whether it's been over at Thomas Jefferson Elementary School and preserving green space, or over in Roslyn where we're building a new school, actually in collaboration with the county, and we're exploring ways to have continuous green space so that we don't lose what's so valuable, that park space, to the folks in Roslyn. These are all issues in specific communities that we have to be aware of. And so when we talk about salt domes and when we talk about salt domes and sidewalks and potholes, that's where our attention should be. One of the things that I really was disappointed about is we got distracted unnecessarily about dog parks and bus stops when we should have been talking about economic development and how we're going to replace the government dollars that no longer exist in our economy. That's where our focus should be. That's what I'm talking about, and that's where my solutions and specifics lie.
Again, when you talk about economic development and especially fostering small business, the counter to that might be that the vacancy is present there, and small business development is incremental over time. We need to go find big whales and bring those whales in. How do you respond to that?
I don't think it's either or. I think it's an and. Big whales as you categorize them are still an attraction, or will still be attracted to Arlington. But the question is, we're evolving as a global economy. We're evolving as a community. Technology has changed the way we do everything. And so private businesses, even the government, aren't looking to spend a certain amount of money on 200 square foot per employee. They may only be looking to spend money on 100 square foot per employee. We have telecommute days now with the government. How we use space has changed. Even the millennials, which are quickly becoming the largest demographic. I have one of my own who graduated from Wakefield and from William and Mary, and I understand that she's not interested in 2,000 square feet of house. She wants space and she wants opportunity to move forward. So how do we look to the future? Because it's hard to think, but my baby girl will in 7 or 8 years be the primary workforce in this country. So this is an opportunity for us to prepare for the millennials. And then because we have an educated workforce, I think our seniors community offer us a plethora of ideas of how we can utilize their experience with paid internships, seniors teaching seniors, and seniors connected with some of our young people to offer opportunities to supplement our workforce. This is how we allow seniors to have opportunities to age here in Arlington, which is very important. And again, this all underpins economic development. And for me, it's not either or, but it's now, and how do we take advantage of these opportunities?
James, I've heard time and time again from incumbents on the county board, former members of the county board, and those aspiring to be on the county board now. It's a full-time job. We don't structure it that way. Do we need to move down that path of having county board members be full-time paid positions?
I would favor that. And I love my service to Arlington. I served in the Navy, and serving my country, serving my community is something I believe in. My wife and I chose Arlington because it's a wonderful place. And at this point, I think we have to continue to evolve. I would favor full-time pay for our county board members because we have some challenges. We need to evolve. And unfortunately, I can't afford to stop working full-time. One of the caveats that my wife put on me was that I could get involved in service all I want to as long as I didn't miss the love note we got from Bank of America every month. So I have to honor that commitment to my family, and I want to do that in conjunction with my service to the community. And I've done it as a school board member. I know the long hours that I've put in. I've maintained a full job. I've been, this year chairman of the school board, and I've gotten things done. But it's been a strain, and I look forward to the challenge of it, and I would love to do it full time, be in Arlington every day talking about economic development, talking about our seniors, talking about transportation in our great schools, and how we move forward. It takes vision, and it takes implementation, because without that, all of these great ideas are just dreams.
Well, do you think that the idea of full-time county board members is a dream, or do you think that it's something that could actually come to fruition?
I think so. I look forward to putting it before the voters, maybe in another 4 years, and getting their feedback. As I talk about being more responsive, so much of the influence lies at the staff level, and that's fine. But the county board members are the ones elected to maintain the relationships with the different neighborhoods, to be responsive to the salt dome, the potholes, and the sidewalks, and the bus stops, and the streetscapes, and finding out opportunities to give an audience and a voice to the communities that have been seeking the attention to get their issues heard and moved forward on, whether it's thumbs up or thumbs down. And that can't be done by staff. That's done in a relationship way, as I referenced in Arlington. And so in my service to the county as a county board member, that's what I want to focus on. And I want to do that every day, all day long.
The other thing that I have heard time and time again in this community is that our vaunted Arlington way is threatened. It may need to be modified in some way because perhaps it is either insufficiently responsive or insufficiently nimble to deal with the important policy issues that we have right now. Do we need to change the Arlington way?
I don't think we need to change it. I just think we need to be more responsive and help Arlingtonians believe in it again, so that it's not an outdated saying, but that it's actually a philosophy or a belief system that Arlingtonians can embrace. And I think that has to do with being more responsive to citizens' concerns. If we're talking about dog parks and bus stops while we're hemorrhaging businesses, we're not being responsive. If we're talking about no to investment in our commercial sector and diversifying our economic base and not being responsive to the citizens' concerns about potholes and stoplights and stop signs, then we're losing focus of why folks elected us in Arlington. And being an elected official in Arlington, no more passionate constituency than parents about their children. They are our future. And so whether it's about differentiation in the classroom, whether it's about teacher pay and how quickly our school system is growing each year, I have focused on the issues. I have focused on being a responsive. And I think having spoken to civic leaders and community leaders and business leaders across Arlington, folks know that I'm a good listener, even when the conversation is difficult. That's the Arlington way, where we respect the difference in opinion, but we build a consensus and we move forward. We have to make decisions, and we have to be responsive, more responsive to community concerns.
James, we're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you one final question. As the voters go to the polls, who would you have them think of as the person that you model your public service after. In other words, if they're trying to say, James is like so-and-so, and therefore I want to vote for him, who would that person be?
Well, being an elected official, I would have them say, Chairman of the school board, James Lander, has served us well, put together a fabulous budget, amazing budget that included a step increase for our teachers and administrators, redesigned the budget process so that we were able to find efficiencies and able to lower the cost per pupil $500 per child. That's the type of strong leadership that will guide us forward, and that's what I would ask folks to remember when they go to the voting booth on June 9th. If they remember anything else or anyone else, remember my service to the county as chairmanship and the leadership that I displayed working with the county board members and the county manager and superintendent to get things done to make Arlington better for all of us.
That's all the time we have today, and I wanted to thank James Lander, who is aspiring to a Democratic nomination for a county board seat here in Arlington County. This show, Candidate Spotlight, has been a production of Arlington Independent Media, and I'm Ted Billich, your host. Until next time, good day.